What's up, guys? It's Jay with Bearded Fishing, and today we're talking about the Redodo 100 amp hour lithium ion phosphate battery. This is for your kayak, trolling motor, electronics. We're going to go over the general overview, the specs, my experience with the battery, and the pros and cons of this battery. But first, dad joke of the day. What's the leading cause of dry skin? Towels. That was a viewer submitted dad joke brought to you by searching the Sixth Gear on YouTube. So if you have a funny dad joke, put it in the comments below and it might be in one of my next videos. So this is the Redodo 100 amp hour lithium battery. This company was formerly known as Zooms, and I've had one of their batteries for 2 years. It's running all my electronics and my fish finder and everything else connected to my Kayak power gear. I've never had any issues with the 50 amp hour. I've gotten to take this 100 amp hour out on the water a couple times, and it's been pretty good. So we're going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about first the size of this battery. So this is the same size as your standard 100 amp hour sealed lead acid battery. However, it's less than half of the weight. So it fits the same box for your battery boxes, but it's only 25 pounds. So still heavy, but not nearly as heavy as a sealed lead acid battery. I love this thing as far as size goes. It comes with a nice carrying handle, and obviously your posts on the top. So you just got to attach your terminal posts and then attach it to your trolling motor. This size is a bit overkill if you're running your electronic system on it. You really don't need this to run a fish finder or anything like that. Even 50 amp hours, which is what I have, is overkill, but I just wanted to make sure I was good. I can actually take that 50 amp hour on the water probably 4 or 5 times before ever having to recharge it. I've never ever run out of charge on that one, but the lowest I've gotten once I plug it in, I think it's been like maybe 40% capacity. So they last a very, very long time. And these are the 12 volt batteries. They also have 24 volt if you have a trolling motor that calls for a higher voltage, and they can be rigged in series or parallel. If you're not familiar with rigging it that way, there's tons of charts and videos online for rigging these batteries in series or parallel. If you rig it in series, it doubles the voltage and keeps the amp hours. If you rig it in parallel, it doubles the amp hours and keeps the voltage. One of the things that really caught my eye about this battery is that it has one of the best price points on the market. So a lot of these batteries, especially 100 amp hour, can go anywhere from $800 or $900 all the way down to the general area of $400 to $500. This battery at the time of shooting this is $320. So it's definitely a bang for your buck, but we're gonna talk about, is it worth it? Let's talk about some of the pros and cons. So we'll start off with the pros. First of all, like I mentioned, this battery is a ton lighter than your sealed lead acid battery, and that's gonna be true for no matter what amp hour you get for this. So if you get a 50 amp hour, it's gonna be 50% or more lighter than your sealed lead acid comparable battery. So that's a huge difference when you're on the water. So especially if you have a kayak with a lower weight capacity and every pound counts, you don't want to be taking a 60 pound sealed lead acid battery out there for your trolling motor. The next pro for this battery is your charge cycles. You get a lot more charge cycles out of these batteries. It can range anywhere from 2,500 charges to 5,000 charges. So you're gonna have this battery longer than you're probably gonna have your kayak. So it lasts a very long time. So sealed lead acid batteries are around the 500 charge cycle mark. So once you charge it, 400 or 500 times, the capacity diminishes over time. So that 100 amp hour will then become 95 and 90, 80, and so on until the cells just completely die out. The next pro for lithium batteries is gonna be your depth of discharge versus the sealed lead acid battery's depth of discharge. So what does that mean? That means if you have a 100 amp hour sealed lead acid battery, you could only discharge it up to 50% before you start damaging permanently the cells in the battery. So if you have a 100 amp hour, you can't go below a 50 amp hour before it starts hurting the battery. So you essentially only have 50% of that capacity. And if you have a 50 amp hour sealed lead acid, you can only use 25 amp hours. You get my drift? With these batteries, you can discharge 80 to 90% of the entire amperage before you can start doing some damage to the cells. So you have a lot more bang crammed in here. So not only do you have a higher energy density, you also have a higher depth of discharge, resulting in a lot more use out on the water. And our last pro that we're going to talk about is your voltage. So this is a 12.8 volt battery, and generally speaking, your sealed lead acid battery will also be 12.8. However, with a sealed lead acid battery, you get a consistent drop in voltage the more discharge that occurs. So the longer you use your battery, the less voltage is being delivered to your electronics or your trolling motor. While the lithium battery, it keeps the very consistent voltage all the way throughout the life of the battery, and it starts to dip near the end once you get to that 20 and 15% depth of discharge, which you don't want to go much below that anyways. So for example, if you're out on the water and you have the sealed lead acid battery connected to your trolling motor, and the power that you get in the beginning, that voltage is being delivered to your trolling motor, you might be able to ride around the lake at a 5 setting the entire time and feel comfortable. As the discharge occurs throughout the day, to get that same power that you had on a 5, you might have to knock it up to a 7. And at the end of the day, you might be all the way maxed out at full power, and you're still not getting the same voltage that was delivered to you in the beginning. All right, now we're going to talk about some of the cons of this battery. Number one being the price. Like I said, these batteries can range from the $1,000, $900, all the way down, depending on the size that you're getting. So these are much more expensive than the comparable sealed lead acid battery or car battery that you can find for your standard trolling motor. That said, Redodo is one of the best values on the market, coming in at $320, $330 at the time of this recording. It's hard to find much cheaper. They are developed overseas and manufactured overseas, like a lot of these batteries are. There are some that are assembled domestically, but a lot of these raw materials, again, come from overseas. So in my opinion, not much of a difference. So having the lower price point gives you more flexibility with what you're doing with the Kayak and modding it out and everything else. So that's going to be con number one, is the price. Con number two is your in-store availability. If you go to your local Bass Pro, Cabela's, Academy, you're not going to have a whole ton of options on the shelf. A lot of these have to be ordered online. You can order them through Amazon. You can order them through direct from the manufacturer, but you're not going to have a lot of options in store for these batteries. And the last con, number three, is that you need a special charger for these lithium batteries. If you have a sealed lead acid battery, you cannot use that same charger on this. You will damage the battery permanently. You can get a smart charger online, or you can get the Redodo battery. They have a 10 amp hour charging battery, which means it charges 10 amps per hour, which is pretty dang good, which means it'll take 10 hours to charge this battery from completely drained all the way to max capacity. They have it for $79.99. So now that we went over the pros and cons and the specifications of this battery, the next question is this battery right for you? And that's really a lot of times going to be a personal choice. So if you're just running a couple lights, if you're running a small fish finder, and you're fine with the 6 or 8 amp hour Cabela's sealed lead acid batteries, then yeah, maybe you don't need this if you're just running 1 or 2 electronics. But if you're running a full trolling motor, I suggest you definitely look into these, because then you're running a bigger battery. Whether it's a 50 amp hour or 100 amp hour, you're cutting the weight on your Kayak in more than in half. So you're cutting it by 50 or 60% a lot of times, and it's definitely worth the extra weight savings on your Kayak more than anything. You're also going to see more of that ROI up front your first time out. You're going to see getting that full consistent voltage throughout the entire charge cycle out on the water. You're going to notice a difference, and you might not be cranking that trolling motor up to 10 the entire time. You might be running it at 5 or 3 or 4 or whatever. So you're going to see the return on investment very quickly if you're running a trolling motor. If you're just running 1 or 2 electronics, again, might not be for you at this time. But if you're running a lot of electronics, if you're running, double power poles, if you're running a big fish finder, live scope, then again, I would recommend you look into one of these. Overall, my experience with this battery has been really good. I took it out on Kayak and fished 2 full days with this battery. So I have an Old Town Autopilot 136, and I had spot lock on that thing going all day long. And it didn't give me any issues. When I got home both days to charge it, I had more than 60% capacity left. So I think that's a huge thumbs up for the capacity of this battery. And like I said before, I've had their 50 amp hour battery powering my fish finder, powering my lights, and all my electronics connected to my Yak power system. And for 2 years, it's been absolutely phenomenal. Never had any issues with either of those batteries. So I definitely recommend them. I think it packs a punch. It's a great value for your buck. So make sure to check out a discount code I have below. If you order directly on their website, Redodo Power, you can use that discount code for an extra percentage off. They also sell them on Amazon, and regardless of where you order it from, I'll put the links below, and both give you free shipping options. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what you think between the debate, sealed lead acid or lithium. All right, so till next time, guys, peace and God bless.